Tina Michael. Here I am at my usual hangout, and it was a really special day today. My time at around 5 a.m. we had the Humane Tech Lab, part of the Lincoln Ethics Centre Design Studio, and it was on the future of work and this human-tech symbiosis. About 3 days ago, after having spoken to Gaiman Bennett and Elizabeth Langland and Erica O'Neill, I decided to write some of my thoughts down that were being gathered through cumulative discussions over a month or so, about once a week and then more frequently as we got closer to the design studio day. And I felt very supported and very free and very safe in the hands of the people at the Lincoln Centre, who were extremely encouraging to some of the ideas I was throwing around. Gaiman and Elizabeth termed my role as a host and a muse and provocateur and some other descriptive language. And 2 nights ago I got up prematurely. I usually get up at 3 a.m. at the moment, given the time zone shifts between Arizona and Australia. And I got up at 12 this time, and I felt very tired a couple of days ago, but all of these feelings came out. Some of them were quite factual, autobiographical. Some of them were biographical, things I had seen in others. But I could at least relate to these things, even if they didn't happen to me directly. But for the vast majority, what you read and what you hear in the performance pieces of the design studio are actually real. And recently I turned in my mid-40s, and last year, since returning back from Arizona State University to Australia due to COVID and being reunited with my family during COVID times, a lot has happened to me as a person. I think a lot has happened to a lot of people during COVID. And for some, COVID has been destructive, and for others, it's been the best thing that could have possibly happened. You know, some people call it a reset. I'm not thinking about it like that, except as a reset in myself. Yeah, sure, I can accept that. But I know how appreciative I am of my continuing appointment at ASU, and it has meant that I have gotten up with vigor to do my work and to make meetings. I mean, it would be a bit unfair if I requested everyone to fit my own time zones, even though there's a nice overlap there in the morning with Arizona's afternoon. But often we're on calls with the UK, very terrible time zone, to try and coordinate with the US at the same time. And if you're working with New York or Washington, DC, again, you know, the time zones are again slipping to make it useful for both Arizona and Sydney, Australia. I thought a lot about how I would convey what I wanted to, and often when I've got limited time, I have resorted to poetry maybe 3 or 4 times in my academic life. Not often. For many years I didn't want to write poetry. Actually, when I graduated from my computing degree, I think my computing bachelor's had sucked the life out of me to an extent, even though I was quite good at things like database and systems analysis and systems design. Doing about 5 or 6 programming subjects per session was quite terrible. I remember being stuck in labs for like 60 hours a week, and I knew before I even graduated this wasn't going to be the life for me. But somehow I got into a job that I not only could stomach, but I actually enjoyed, and that was in a network capacity. My first offer letter to a long-term job at Nortel Networks read graduate engineer, and I realized I was very good at planning and I was very good at design, and often would carry a lot of the arm of our presentations on methodology and even business planning. But even that became a little bit predictable, despite that every single bid response was different and for a different country. I'm very grateful for the opportunities I got to travel, you know, because I hadn't traveled as a kid. Very, very grateful for the international, intercultural awareness I gained, for the people I met on those trips. It helped me to embrace all people that I've come into contact with because of that internationalization, and that sort of gave me the ability when I joined academia to become an international dean of a faculty, where I was in the executive team looking after 8 remote campuses in countries like Malaysia, Singapore, the UAE, China, and so much more. Hong Kong. So I don't want to seem ungrateful for the amazing opportunities I got when I was in corporate. They have given me the ability to be who I am today. And life, I believe, is a constant process of learning. But some of the things that I thought wouldn't be in academe have been corporatized. And this impact has infiltrated the corporate sector into academia. And so the question I pose, here I was trying to be a good teacher, values-based, and I was being struck face to face with the things I was trying to flee in my previous workplace. I felt that the movements were spot on. I also felt the openness of the poetry that people understood as having happened to me helped others to be open. And as I had predicted, given my own circumstances in these organizations and knowing, what common themes people may well identify or relate to, pretty much I was able to read out the poetry verbatim with a bit of adaptation as I was going, based on what I had heard as I was joining each room on Zoom. Very grateful to Elizabeth Langland, Gaiman Bennett, Erica O'Neill, Erica Lumbrook, and all the other wonderful people, about 8 or 9 others, for their care in the precision of the delivery today. Because design studios, now that I've been involved in 2 very different kinds of design studios, go quick, require a lot of intensive planning down to the minute level, and I've not seen that before. So as a host, I thought fantastic, and as a participant, I participated in one of these last year. I was spurred on to not only thinking but to action. So how will we change? How will I change since the delivery this morning? Well, I'll be confronted with my own words. The impact on me has to keep happening. I mean, I visit the water every day. It's one of my favorite places in the world, if not my favorite. Friends of mine know that. If in doubt, you'll find me at the beach somewhere in the many hundreds of kilometers of beach in Australia. And it was indicative. I had begun my day at 12 a.m. The design studio was 5 a.m. my time to 7 a.m. And then at break time, I had this idea, which had been festering in me since the day before. What would it be like if I showed people in Arizona and in California and in other places in the US, the beach, my local beach, minutes away from my home? And I think they were in shock for a little while. And in the last movement, my reflection was that our hearts should be like the new beginning, the sun every morning. And as I was talking in those last 5 to 10 minutes with the group, behind me this incredible sun was coming out behind the clouds. And I said, kaboom, that's what happens every morning. And I just love the sun's rays, and I love the sun. So we all basked in sunlight, and I put my feet in the water. And if I had my swimming costume on, I would have probably gone for a swim. But we have to reconnect with place, wherever we are. You don't have to be near a beach. There are things about Arizona I miss desperately. My kids miss desperately. Every place is unique. Every person you meet is unique. And putting all of these things together makes for a very special encounter. One of the other things I did during that last session was ask everybody to unmask and show their videos. I wanted to see them smile. Smiling is infectious, even if it's over Zoom, and I wanted to look at their eyes. those people who were there, thanks for making that day, that moment, that 2 hours so memorable. Hope to see you again. Signing off, Katina Michael from Surf Beach in Kiama.